Alice, and today we're gonna do a little book haul. We've got a mishmash of stuff today, and we are just gonna go through it, really, because that's usually how book hauls work. First, we have got this absolutely gorgeous book called Love and Fury by Samantha Silva. And I am obsessed with this cover. I don't know what it is, but I just love it so much. It's one of my favorite covers that I've seen like recently. And so when I saw this, I was like, And then I looked into it, and it says that it's a book bringing to life a literary legend. And I was like, sign me up. This is historical fiction. It's set in 1797, and in it we meet Mary Wollstonecraft, who I think is in the middle of giving birth, and as she's doing that, she sort of recounts her life. Now, if you don't know, Mary Wollstonecraft is now considered one of the founding feminist philosophers, and she's not to be confused with Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley, who was in fact her daughter. I just think this sounds great, and I quite enjoy these types of books, so I'm really looking forward to it. Then I got a book that actually a colleague of mine recommended to me because she saw a TikTok and she thought it looked interesting, and so she ran to her resident book nerd, which is me, and told me about it, and I thought it sounded intriguing, so I got it. It's Cain's Jawbone, and I do not know how this is gonna go. I have my doubts, but this is a mystery novel, I guess, but you have to figure out like what's happened and who has done it. And the concept of it is that you have to tear out all of the pages and put them in the right order. So you literally have to like tear this book apart and try to figure it out. I honestly, like, really do not think I'm gonna be able to do this because not a lot of people have figured this out, and this like it gained popularity when the pandemic hit because all of a sudden people were at home and they had time to do stuff like this. And you know, unless I somehow like end up in quarantine again, I don't know if I'll ever be able to do this, and if I am gonna do it, it'll take me years. Right now, I'm just trying to get over the fact that I'm gonna have to like tear out the pages of this because there's something in me that just like, it feels so wrong, but I don't know. I'm gonna give this a go and see. Some people have spent like, I think there was like a comedian who solved this during quarantine and he spent 6 months doing it. So I doubt my abilities, but I guess we'll see. I also actually got a copy of this for one of my friends because she loves mystery novels, and so maybe if we do it together, maybe we'll be able to do it. Next, we have got another historical fiction with The Dictionary of Lost Words by Pip Williams. And again, this has a great cover, and I got this mostly because a lot of you have recommended it to me and thought I might like it, so I'm assuming that I will. It says that this is about a girl who spends her childhood with her father as he is trying to, like with a team of other people, he's trying to put together the first Oxford English dictionary. And it says that she ends up stealing some words, and I don't really understand how that works, but I think it has something to do with like how some words are considered more important than others, and she sort of realizes that a lot of words that have to do with women's experience are often considered lesser, and so she sort of takes those words and starts making her own dictionary, which I think is called the Dictionary of Lost Words. I think that sounds great. I think this is set like before the Second World War and during the suffrage movement as well, which is great. And I just love books about books and words. Next, I got a book that I have wanted to read ever since I first started BookTube, actually. I'm pretty sure this is where I sort of discovered it, and it only took me like 6 years to get myself a copy. It's The Shadow of the Wind by Carlo Ruiz Zafón. This, again, is a book about books, and it's set right after the war in Barcelona, and I think we meet this antique book dealer who has just lost his mother, and he finds solace in this mysterious book. And he loves it so much that he tries to seek out the author and like the author's other works, and then he finds out that someone is like systematically trying to get rid of everything this author has ever written. It says that this is an epic story about murder, madness, and doomed love. And I've heard so many good things about this book, so I'm just assuming I'm gonna love it. One thing I didn't know about this though is that apparently this is the first book in a series. But I feel like I've heard that you can read this as a standalone, at least I hope so, and I guess we'll find out once I read it. Then we've got some more mystery with A Duty to the Dead by Charles Todd. And this is, I'm pretty sure, the first book in a series. And in it, we follow this courageous World War I nurse who is also kind of like an investigator. And I think she grew up in India with like an officer as her father. And I think what happens, if I remember correctly, she meets someone during the war who asks her to deliver a letter for him, and she does it, and that like pulls her into a mystery or something. I just thought this sounded right up my alley. I really enjoy books set in this era, especially with like a female protagonist, and it says on the back here that it has rich characterization and a haunting atmosphere, so I have very high hopes. Another book I have high hopes for is Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe, and I just saw a really good review of this. I think maybe it was on Instagram, and it just made me want to read it. It sounds great, it's historical fiction, and I think it's set in like San Francisco in the 50s. The story is about two women who fall in love during a time when that was not at all safe, and I'm pretty sure this is set during like the Red Scare, so that time when everyone was like super paranoid about communists and anarchists. So there's a lot of turmoil going on, and it just sounds really great. I think this is gonna have a lot of interesting themes and discussions, and again, the review made it sound amazing. Second to last of the fiction, we have Near the Bone by Christina Henry, and there's just something about someone being trapped up in a mountain, like there's something about that setting that I just absolutely love. I think it's so intriguing, probably because it's kind of eerie, and I feel like that kind of setting has a lot of potential for atmosphere. This is horror as well though, so it has the potential of also scaring the living daylights out of me, but oh well. The story is about these two people who live completely alone up in the mountain, and it says that the woman can't remember a time before the man, I guess, and it sort of talks about how she can never make him upset, which makes me feel like there's something iffy going on. And then there's like something like a creature in the woods, and there are some strangers who appear looking for the creature, and it just sounds kind of spooky and terrible. Lastly, before we move on to the nonfiction, I've got a book about death, because welcome to this channel. It's You Died, an anthology of the afterlife, and this is actually a graphic novel, and it's a collection of stories from all kinds of different authors, and it seems like there are different artists in here as well, and it says it sort of celebrates the different cultural expressions of the great equalizer, death, which is coming for us all, guys. So this basically explores everything that has to do with death and dying, like grief, ancient rites, and like memorial rites and thoughts of the afterlife, and that is fascinating to read about if you're a little morbidly inclined like me. Moving on to nonfiction, I have got two books to show you. The first one is The Invention of Nature by Andrea Wolf, and this is a book about like science and nature, which I love. It's a biography about Alexander von Humboldt, who was like a famous explorer and scientist in his age, and I don't think I've ever heard of this guy. I feel like I should have, but maybe I haven't, although whenever I like hear or read a name, there's like a little creature in my brain that puts that name into a shredder. So maybe I have heard of him, but I just can't remember. Either way, this book is filled with like discovery and adventure, and you all know how much I love adventure. Not necessarily going on it, but I do love reading about it. And I just think his life sounds very interesting. I think he is most famous for sort of introducing the idea that nature is all like interconnected, and it's like globally interconnected, and it's not just there for the use of humans, which is something that I think we could all benefit thinking about every once in a while. I just think this sounds fascinating though, and I can't wait to read it. Lastly, we have another book that was recommended to me by one of you. It's Catch and Kill by Ronan Farrow, and this is true crime, and it's all about this journalist who caught wind of this horrible abuser going about Hollywood by the name of Harvey Weinstein, and it's all about him trying to uncover decades of stories from these women and the incredible resistance that he was met when he was trying to do this work, not from the people that had been abused, but from the system around this very powerful man. I find this case, like a lot of other people I'm sure, absolutely infuriating, but I think it's going to be very interesting to read about, and I think it's interesting to read about how, like, powerful and wealthy people just, like, get away with murder. Like, they just get away with so many things, and I think it's interesting to sort of look at the systems around that. And I'm also really excited to read this because a lot of people have said it like reads like a spy thriller, and I also love investigative journalism, and I just think it's gonna be hard to read, but interesting. Okay everyone, we've made it through my entire stack of exciting new books, and now is the time for you to tell me if you've read any of these books and what you thought, or if you have picked up any exciting new books lately. I would love to hear about that as well. As usual, links to my Patreon and other social media will be in the description if you're interested, and I will see you soon. Bye!